Bravely Second Endlayer is a sweeping adventure across Celtic myths, pirate legends, and science fiction fairy tales. Poor writing and forced plot points do impede the journey's momentum, but its vivid world and sleek combat are strong enough to overcome the weight dragging it down. As the sequel to 2012's Bravely Default, Endlayer returns you to Luxendarc, a land of arid deserts and snow-capped mountains. Throughout your travels, you'll upgrade 4 characters, engage in turn-based combat, earn new specialist classes, and prevent the world from crumbling around you. The story serves mainly as a means to pull you between Luxendarc's locales, offering new MacGuffins on a whim as you navigate class struggles and solve a variety of political disputes along the way.
Nobody important. We're just looking for a man named Go.
Go? Ah, go get it. The new guy.
At first, Endlayer's variety is suspect. It's hard to tell whether it's a wild western, a medieval journey, or a dystopian sci-fi drama. But after several hours, it's clear the game is using the gamut of genres to introduce aesthetics and characters just for spectacle's sake. At this point, I'm content to let it unfold, curious as to what I'll see next. Endlayer's characterization and dialogue don't reflect the same ambition, though. In fact, its main character, a young cavalier named Eugenie Olja, is cloying from the start. His catchphrases arrive during emotional moments. His reactions to plot twists are rarely believable. His optimism and candor remain static throughout, never drawing any real meaning from his sense of innocence and naivete. Few of Endlayer's characters display much dynamism, but you is the embodiment of the poor writing choices that drag the adventure down. Endlayer also breaks the fourth wall several times throughout, often during pivotal plot moments, and it feels forced every time. These meta moments, which I won't spoil here, are interesting concepts on their own, but the story doesn't earn them. They cheapen what little drama the writing already struggled to impart.
Cats are everywhere. Cats see everything. And what they see, I see. Meow, isn't
While Endlayer's narrative fails, however, its combat succeeds. The turn-based title brings back the Brave and Default system established in its predecessor. By defaulting, each character enters a defensive stance and saves up Brave points, which allow them to use multiple actions in one turn. Do this without defaulting, though, and you're useless for the next several turns. Endlayer benefits from this risk-reward system much like Bravely Default did. There's an inherent tension when choosing between careful defense and all-out aggression. The now eponymous Bravely Second ability also reprises its role. The mechanic allows you to stop time, granting one character an extra action during that turn, further increasing the possible ability combinations against your enemies. It's especially useful against tougher bosses, where each turn carries more weight than it might otherwise. And all of this combat is built on the franchise's recurring job system. Jobs, and the array of possibilities surrounding them, are Bravely Second's lifeblood. As with the game's varied locales, its class system borrows from a plethora of genres. There's a Templar, there's an Exorcist, there's even a cat person. There are 30 jobs in total, and each character can equip 2 at a time. By combining the passive abilities of one with the active attacks of another, you can create your own disparate subclasses to further your goals. Endlayer's class system is as much about experimentation as it is execution. Actually acquiring each available job, however, leads to problems in Endlayer's overall structure. Although many classes are unlocked through the main storyline, some are tied to optional side quests that pit 2 NPCs against each other. By choosing sides in the conflict, you opt to fight the opposing character, thereby gaining their job for the remainder of the game. This is conceptually intriguing, but it often creates situations where the job you want is at odds with the character you agree with. Endlayer forces you to place story above gameplay, or, in some cases, the other way around. Without spoiling too much, Bravely Second does allow you to retrace your steps in order to collect every job title in the game's latter half. But the dissonance of the earlier side missions halts the momentum of the globe-trotting plot. On that note, the sequel's late-game hours are far more enjoyable than those of its predecessor. The pacing is constant throughout here, and you witness different areas from those of the first half. It's a far cry from the backtracking and tedium of Default's waning chapters. Despite Endlayer's new quests, though, and the variety of locales on display here, it's worth noting how familiar the sequel can seem as a whole. For large chunks of the game, you're revisiting the same cities and dungeons as those from Bravely Default, and the combat, despite its sleek design, doesn't make any major improvements on the well-established formula. formula. These complaints don't affect Endlayer's overall quality, but considering the time the first installment took to beat, its sequel imparts a sense of deja vu more often than I prefer. One could argue it feels more like an exceptional expansion than a true sequel. But in the end, Bravely Second transcends the limitations that its poor writing and redundant storyline create. It's a grand adventure in every sense of the phrase, whisking you across exotic environments and satisfying your curiosity every step of the way. It has its restraints, but as the story closes on the plains of Luxendarc, Bravely Second's grasp more than matches its reach.
And yet, we never know when the enemy will strike again. Stay vigilant, Ballbuster Magnolia Arch.
Wait a minute, Magnolia.